Hey guys, hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn on subtopic 2.3, which is the main organ for photosynthesis, as well as we're going to talk a little bit on photosynthesis. And yeah, it's quite a long subtopic, but I hope you stay with me until the end of this lesson. And yeah, let's do this. Oh, don't forget, take your notes while we go through this. Okay, as usual, let's go through the learning standard. Okay, so the first one is to justify the necessity of photosynthesis. Why is photosynthesis important? Okay, and then relate the adaptation of internal structure of leaf, okay, to photosynthesis. So you have to know the internal structure. I think we have seen this in Form 4, Chapter 2, okay, internal structure of leaf, but I think we are going to go into detail in this chapter. All right, and then we are going to identify structure of chloroplast. Yes, so you have learned chloroplast in Form 4. You know how chloroplasts look like. But what is in the chloroplast? You are going to learn here. Okay, we have granum, thylakoid, and stroma. And then we are going to relate light-dependent and light-independent reaction. Oh my God, what is that? All right, so don't panic. We are going to go through this. Okay, light dependent and light independent, that means with light and without light, they can still carry out photosynthesis. Okay, how does it go? And then the end product, the chemical equation, you know this chemical equation, but how from this reaction you get the chemical equation, that's what we're going to see in this lesson. Okay, and then you must be able to compare and contrast the light dependent and light independent reaction. All right, and then explain the environmental factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. Now, there are 4 factors that actually affect the rate of photosynthesis. All 4 factors, we are going to see that. So this one involves graphs. So this one, memorizing the graph, you must know how the graph is going to look like. Okay, and then here, conduct the experiment. Of course, we can't conduct the experiment in this lesson, but I will go through a little bit. Okay, and let's see what happens after that. And lastly, to analyze the effects of different light intensity and colors of lights, okay, on the rate of photosynthesis. Does light affect the rate of photosynthesis? Colors of light. Okay, so all these, look at that, there's a lot of learning standard here. So can you imagine how much we are going to cover in this lesson? Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, without delay, let's start. Let's eat. Now, when you get hungry, what do you do? Yeah, you might decide to, raid the refrigerator. Okay, since now it's MCO, everybody's at home. So we go to the refrigerator like all the time. So, and we also try to convince our mom to take us for, to the fast food restaurant, grab food, food panda. You can do all these things, correct? You can do this because you are a heterotroph. Heterotroph meaning a consumer. Okay, heterotrophs are organisms that need to get their energy from the food they eat. Okay, humans and animals are heterotrophs, but plants, they are not. Okay, green plants, they can't just reach the fridge for quick snack. Have you seen plant moving, walking to your fridge? Oh God, we are going to be in a different planet if that's going to happen. But yeah, they can't do that, so they actually have to make their own food. Yes, they have to make their own food. They can make their own food by using the sunlight. Okay, so they are called, these green plants which can carry out photosynthesis, they are called autotrophs. Okay, which means producers. I believe you know what producers is. All right, so this autotroph, they uses the light energy from the sun to produce the food they need. Okay, so to understand how this works, we actually need to learn about photosynthesis, how the plant makes their own food. Okay, the necessity of photosynthesis in plants. Now, plants are autotrophic organisms that produce their own food through photosynthesis. All right, so the product of photosynthesis, which is glucose, is used by other organisms to generate energy through oxidation of food. All right, so this energy is needed to carry out living processes such as growth and also reproduction. Photosynthesis is also important as it produces oxygen. Yes, main point, oxygen, which is used for respiration by all living organisms. and it also helps in maintaining the content of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So you have to remember that carbon dioxide and oxygen balance is due to photosynthesis. Okay, now before we go through the process of photosynthesis, let's just learn a little bit on the the history of photosynthesis. Like, who is the guy that invented photosynthesis that now we are studying about it? Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this guy first. This Hellman, Hellman guy here. Ian Baptista van Helmont, he actually did an experiment, okay, with seedlings, okay, that weigh about, that is seedling about 2.3 kilogram, okay, and then he had a 90 gram of soil, okay, and the plant was watered for 5 years, okay, 5 years you conduct this experiment. Can you imagine the determination? Yeah, so plant weigh like 77 kilogram after 5 years, but the soil, it's still 90 kilogram after 5 years. Now what is that? So his conclusion is that the plant had grown only by being watered and not from the water of the soil. Yeah, that is his conclusion. Don't judge yet. Okay, but what the other guy, okay, Priestley, okay, Joseph Priestley, he said, okay, water is important, but plants also release oxygen. But how? How did he manage to conclude that? Okay, he conducted an experiment, of course, with a rat placed in an inverted glass. Okay, so of course the rat died. But when he placed the rat in a jar with a plant, so of course the rat lived. So he concluded that plants release oxygen. Okay, now what has to do with this? So photosynthesis, okay, photosynthesis is the process where glucose or carbohydrates are synthesized in the leaves from water and carbon dioxide in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight. So from the experiment just now, you know that oxygen and water is involved in photosynthesis. Okay, so photosynthesis involves the use of light energy to convert water and carbon dioxide into oxygen and also high energy carbohydrates, which is the glucose, sugar. All right, so this um, equation you have learned since form 2, I think, form 1, form 2. You have seen photosynthesis, you know the equation. Okay, carbon dioxide plus water, you get glucose and oxygen. All right, so this one you have to remember because later we are going to see about the reaction that takes place in photosynthesis. Okay, now the adaptation of internal structure of a leaf for photosynthesis. Now the leaf is the main organ where photosynthesis occurs in plants. Yeah, right. So it is adapted to optimize photosynthesis through the internal structure of leaf. Okay, so in the internal structure of the leaf, we have stomata. Okay, we have many stomata actually, not we, the plant, have many stomata on the epidermis. Okay, as you have seen in subtopic 2.1. Okay, subtopic 2.1 you have seen. So they have stomata, okay, which actually allow the gases exchange between the cell in the leaf and also in the atmosphere. It also allows exchange of gases, okay, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to diffuse into the leaves for photosynthesis. Now, they also have palisade mesophiles, palisade mesophyll cell, sorry, okay, which consists of one layer of closely packed cylindrical shaped cells below the upper epidermis. Okay, so this palisade mesophyll, they have the most number of chloroplasts, they conduct the maximum absorption of sunlight for photosynthesis. Okay, beneath the palisade mesophyll, they have spongy mesophyll. So this spongy mesophyll, they are irregular spherical shaped cells. Okay, they are loosely arranged. Okay, they have a lot of air spaces, large air spaces. Okay, to facilitate the diffusion of carbon dioxide and also oxygen. Okay, so yeah, so let's go through them one by one. Okay, we have here the upper and the lower epidermis. Okay, the upper epidermis, if you look at the leaf, if we took out a part of it, so we have here mainly the cuticle. okay, transparent cuticle on the upper and the lower epidermis, which actually allow sunlight to penetrate. Okay, and then stomata is in the lower epidermis mostly. Okay, there are also some present in the upper epidermis. Okay, and then we also have palisade mesophyll. I've mentioned it just now. Okay, they are packed with chloroplasts. They, chloroplasts containing chlorophyll to absorb the light energy for photosynthesis. Okay, and spongy mesophyll also have chloroplasts, but lesser compared to the palisade mesophyll. Okay, and it allows gases exchange during photosynthesis. And then we also have the vascular bundles, which is the xylem and the phloem. Xylem, of course, transports water and mineral salt absorbed by the root to the leaf. And also phloem transport the sucrose or the product of photosynthesis from the leaf to all parts of the plant. So they can carry the food. All right. So there are two vessels here that we are also, that are also involved in photosynthesis. Yeah, so we have this external structure adaptation of leaves. Okay, leaves have many arrangement. Usually we call it as mosaic arrangement of leaves. So these leaves are actually arranged in mosaic pattern, which means that it prevents the leaves from overlapping. Okay, so all the leaves will have space to absorb sunlight. So all the leaves will be exposed to sunlight. Okay, so this will enable the plant to absorb maximum sunlight for photosynthesis. Okay, so the orientation of the leaves is that the leaves are positioned at the right angle, okay, to the rays of the sunlight, and this will actually allow them to absorb as many light as they can. So if you can look at the picture here, so these are the arrangement. Okay, so there are many arrangement which allows the leaves to get the sunlight without overlapping each other. So yeah, so chloroplasts are only found in plant cell, please remember, but mitochondria are all found in both animal and plant cell. This is just to recap, okay, because I find some students still, confused. What is chloroplast and which one is mitochondria? So you must remember chloroplasts are only found in plant cells. Okay, so in Form 4, you were introduced to the chloroplast organelle in plant cells, which functions as a site for photosynthesis. Now, a chloroplast contains chlorophyll to absorb sunlight and converts it to chemical energy during photosynthesis. So, a chloroplast consists of thylakoids, right, grana, stroma, and lamella. So, that's the main one that we are going to see here. So, stroma is actually a colorless fluid that's surrounding the granum, okay, in the chloroplast. All right, so it is a site for the light independent, or we call it as dark reaction, to take place that produces glucose. Okay, so the thylakoids, on the other hand, okay, they are the disc-shaped sac containing chlorophyll. So if you look at this picture over here, so this is the thylakoid, 1 thylakoid, 2 thylakoid, 3 and 4 thylakoid here. Okay, so this thylakoid membrane are photosynthetic pigments that trap the sunlight. Okay, and light-dependent reaction occurs in the thylakoid. Granum is a disc-shaped stacks of thylakoid. Okay, so this thylakoid join together as a stack together. Okay, they stack together and form a granum. All right, so this arrangement is actually for what? It's actually to increase the surface area for optimal photosynthesis. All right. Then there's also starch grain, which is also found in the stroma as a temporary storage place for the products for photosynthesis. Okay, so yeah, so this is the thylakoid and also the granum, which are joined together by lamella. Okay, so this is the thylakoid, 1 thylakoid, and the whole thing, the stacking of it is the granum. Okay, so make sure you know the structure of chloroplast. Go and draw these. Label them, okay, well, so you know where is the stroma, where is the thylakoid, where is the granum. Okay, stroma is basically like the cytoplasm of chloroplast, okay, where all the reaction that happens, that the light reaction, okay, or the dark reaction, where is it occurring, that one all you must know. Okay, now let's move on to photosynthesis. Now photosynthesis occurs in the grana and in the stroma, two places, grana or granum in and also in the stroma. Now, photosynthesis uses energy from the sunlight and chlorophyll in the chloroplast, okay, to change water and carbon dioxide, okay, into glucose and oxygen. So that's where this equation comes in. Okay, so the process of photosynthesis is divided into two main stages. We have the light dependent reaction. Okay, light dependent reaction, meaning it requires light. Okay, it requires light. So the chlorophyll in the granum will actually absorb the energy, okay, absorb the light energy from the sunlight, okay, and then it split up the water molecules in a process called photolysis of water. All right, it occurs in the thylakoids of the chloroplast. Okay, and light independent reaction, it does not require light, okay, or it is also known as the dark reaction, okay, or it is also known as Kelvin cycle. So all these, if you see Kelvin cycle, if you see dark reaction, or you see light independent reaction, it's all the same thing. Okay, it's just different name. So here the carbon dioxide is reduced to carbohydrate in a process called fixation of carbon dioxide. Okay, fixation of carbon dioxide, meaning it reduction of carbon dioxide. So this one occurs in the stroma of the chloroplast. All right, so one occurs in the granum and one in the stroma. So you must know which one is which. Okay, now the light reaction. Now, light-dependent reaction occurs in the thylakoid. Now, during the light reaction, photosynthetic pigments on the surface of the thylakoid will absorb light energy. This light energy excites, okay, we say electron excites, okay, because of this light energy in this chloroplast pigment to a higher level. So, it increases the energy level, all right. Now, these excited electrons from the chlorophyll will go through a series of electron carriers, okay, and this energy from the electrons is used to generate energy in the form of ATP, okay, generate energy in the form of ATP. Now, this light energy, okay, is also used to split water molecules into hydrogen ions, okay, hydrogen ions, and also hydroxyl ions, okay, hydrogen hydroxyl ions. Now, this process is known as photolysis of water. Yes. Okay, and then, okay, this hydrogen ion, okay, will combine with the electron release, okay, by the chlorophyll, okay, electron released by the chlorophyll, and form hydrogen atoms. And at the same time, the electrons are accepted by the last electron acceptor, which is the NADP, okay, plus. So this NADP plus then will combine with hydrogen, okay, combine with hydrogen ions from the photolysis and forms NADPH, NADP ions, sorry, not plus, NADP ions, forming NADPH. Okay, so it is, now we have the hydrogen combining with the NADP, okay, which is a reducing agent actually. So NADPH is then released into the stroma, Now, this, okay, I think I write it down here. So this NADP goes into the stroma. Okay, now chlorophyll pigments attracts the electrons from the water, okay, via photolysis to be stable. Now, these hydroxide ions now will lose electron, okay, they will lose electron, and this electron will then receive by the chlorophyll, okay. So now this hydroxyl group will then combine and form oxygen and also water. Okay, I repeat, hydroxide ions lose electrons, okay, to form hydroxyl group, and this electron is received by the chlorophyll. Now, the hydroxyl group will then combine and form oxygen and also water. All right, so this is the light reaction, light dependent reaction that occurs in the granum. Okay, that occurs in the granum. Now, you go through it, make a flow map so you understand what is going on. Okay, next. Okay, now the end products here. Now, oxygen is released into the atmosphere and it is used for cellular respiration. Okay, it is used for cellular respiration. And the ATP molecules provide the energy while the hydrogen atoms will provide reducing power for the dark reaction. Okay, dark reaction meaning the light independent reaction which takes place in the stroma. Okay. And yeah, so now let's look at the light independent reaction which occurs in the stroma. Now, during the dark reaction, the hydrogen atoms, okay, are used to fix carbon dioxide in a series of reaction, okay, which is catalyzed by the photosynthetic enzymes. Okay, now the overall reactions, okay, will result in the reduction of carbon dioxide into glucose. Okay, so 5 carbon organic compound, they will fix, or we say reduce, the carbon dioxide gases, okay, to form 6 carbon organic compound. 6 carbon organic compound means glucose. Okay, we have here the glucose, carbon dioxide reduced to glucose. Okay, the NADPH, okay, and the ATP just now from the light dependent reaction, from the light reaction just now, okay, is now here reducing the organic compounds to glucose monomers. Okay, and these glucose monomers will condensate to form starch molecules. Okay, starch molecules, why does it have to be converted into starch? Because it needs to be stored in the stroma of the chloroplast, inside the starch grain. So as the the food product, it is stored in the form of starch grain, stored in the starch grain. Okay, so here dark reaction is the reduction of carbon dioxide into glucose in a series of reaction, in a series of in a cycle which is called Calvin cycle. You don't have to go in detail what happens in the Calvin cycle, but you just have to know here is that carbon dioxide reduces into glucose. All right. Okay, now this is the comparison between the light dependent and also light independent reaction. Okay, which is what are the similarities, what are the differences. So you have to know this. All right, so here light dependent and independent, they are both catalyzed by enzymes and they take place in the chloroplast. Okay, and the site of reaction for light dependent is in the thylakoids or the granum, we can say that, and for independent it is in the stroma. All right, light dependent involves the photolysis of water, light independent involves reduction of carbon dioxide. Okay, light dependent produces ATP and light independent they uses ATP. Okay, and light dependent, okay, the substance is used is water. Products we have oxygen, water molecules and water molecules. But light independent, the reaction is carbon dioxide which is used and the product will be the glucose that is produced in this reaction. So you must know this, draw the table, okay, draw this bubble map, remember the differences and the similarities between light dependent and also light independent reaction. Okay, so once you are done, you can actually copy this also. Okay, this is like a format for you to fill it in on your own. Since you have learned this, you can go and try to do this without referring to the book and see whether you get the answers correct or not. Okay, so the overall process here is that we know that water and carbon dioxide is used, okay, in the photosynthesis together along with light from sunlight and chlorophyll pigment to form glucose and oxygen. So this equation must remember. Okay, you must remember, like wajib hafal tau. Cannot means if you forget this, habis lah. Okay, so please remember this. Okay, done. Now we are going to go into factors affecting photosynthesis. Is it too much? Okay, if it's too much, just pause the video, go and grab water to drink or something, then come back. don't go out from this lesson. Okay, so now factors affecting photosynthesis. Okay, there are three main factors that we are going to see: concentration of carbon dioxide, light intensity, and also temperature. Okay, these three things, enough. Too many to remember, right? Okay, now, okay, the first one, carbon dioxide concentration. Carbon dioxide is needed for glucose synthesis. So at constant light intensity and temperature, that means light intensity and temperature is constant, what happens is that the increase of carbon dioxide concentration increases the photosynthesis until saturation point P. Okay, saturation point P. Now at P here, what happens is that the photosynthesis rate is constant. Okay, so as the concentration of carbon dioxide increases after P, the rate of photosynthesis will remain unchanged. So that's why you see the graph goes constant here. Okay, now why is this happening? Okay, so this is actually due to the rate of photosynthesis, which is limited by the light intensity. Okay, that means the supply of light is not enough. So if there is not enough light, so light intensity now is known as the limiting factor. Okay, so it depends on the light intensity. So if you look at this, low light intensity and at high light intensity. So the light intensity will be the limiting factor for carbon dioxide concentration, okay, in the process of photosynthesis, whether the photosynthesis rate is high or low depending on this. Okay, what about light intensity? Now, light is needed in the light-dependent reaction if the concentration of carbon dioxide and temperature are at constant. Okay, so the other two has to be at constant if we want to look at light intensity. So carbon dioxide and temperature now is constant. Now, the rate of photosynthesis will increase until, again, it reaches the maximum point P. Okay, or we call it as saturation point, which is usually around noon. Okay, light intensity is highest there. So now this graph here, this shows that the rate of photosynthesis increases with the increase of light intensity until it reaches the light saturation point at P. Now after point P, the increase in light intensity, okay, from P here to Q, okay, to Q is no longer increasing, okay, because it is now limited by yes, the other factors, okay, temperature and also carbon dioxide concentration. So now the other two factors will become limiting factors for this factor. Okay, light intensity now is limited by carbon dioxide concentration and also temperature. So that's why it will only increase until saturation point P. Same with this now, carbon dioxide also increases until saturation point P. And then the other factors now will become the limiting factor. Okay. Okay. Now here, here you see, when the concentration of carbon dioxide in environment is increased to 0.13%, the rate of photosynthesis also increase because now carbon dioxide is more. Alright, here carbon dioxide is less. So the graph is lower compared to the second one. The first graph is lower than the second one because of the different concentration of carbon dioxide. Okay, and at very high light intensity, the rate of photosynthesis slow down, okay, because the chlorophylls are usually damaged by the UV rays, so it cannot go above the maximum light intensity that it can take. Okay, so that's why we say UV rays it's not good for the plants. Plants can die even though they have a lot of light intensity is high, but yeah, chlorophylls get damaged. Temperature. Now, at high light intensity and optimum concentration of carbon dioxide, the other two factors is perfect. Now, what happens here in this graph is that as the temperature increases, the rate of photosynthesis also increases until it reaches its optimum temperature. Alright, so this optimum temperature is different for different plant species, but in general, the optimum temperature is between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Now, the reaction in photosynthesis are catalyzed by enzymes. Okay, so therefore the changes in the surrounding temperature, too high or too low, will actually affect the enzyme activity and also the rate of photosynthesis. Now at a very high temperature, the enzymes are denatured and the process of photosynthesis is stopped. So this one you have learned enzyme activity in chapter 4, form 4, chapter 5, alright. So you have learned that, so you know, okay, if enzymes at low temperature it is inactive, at high temperature it is denatured. So this affects the photosynthesis rate. So too high temperature also not good. Too much of light intensity is also not good for the plant. Okay, so this is the experiment, okay, to study the effects of environmental factors on the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, so this one is using the hydrilla, okay, and it is placed in different, concentration of carbon dioxide in different light intensity and also temperature. So all this experiment you are supposed to get the graph just now. Alright, so that is actually the same thing that you're going to get and you're going to learn after doing this experiment. So to do this experiment, you can refer to the graph and the explanation before this. Okay, and then you can write your report. Okay, now this is an activity, okay, to design a greenhouse. Now, why we are going to learn about greenhouse? You see that light intensity and temperature actually affects the rate of photosynthesis. Now, rate of photosynthesis is high when both factors are high. Okay, so the knowledge of how the factors affect the rate of photosynthesis can be used to increase the productivity of crops. So in countries which experience the 4 seasons, okay, the light intensity and the temperature are not constant throughout the year. So the rate of photosynthesis is the higher in summer, correct? And in autumn, the rate of photosynthesis is low because trees are, they shed their leaves. And during winter, the days are short, the temperature may fall way below 0 degrees Celsius. So the photosynthesis also, rate reduces during winter months. Now, the changes in this season throughout the year will therefore affect the crop production in these countries. So to overcome this problem, what do they do? And to ensure the crop production takes place throughout the year, plants are actually grown in greenhouse. Okay, so in greenhouse, the concentration of carbon dioxide, temperature, light intensity, they are all at optimum levels for photosynthesis to carry out throughout the year, and the plants can grow. Okay, so these are examples of a greenhouse. So here you are supposed to design. Okay, try to design. Maybe who knows? You use the knowledge that you have here. So these are the greenhouse. Now, growing plants in greenhouse allow conditions such as light intensity, temperature, and carbon dioxide concentration to be controlled artificially. So in this way, the productivity of many crops can actually increase by keeping the factors that affect the plant productivity closer to optimum level. So greenhouse cultivation can also prevent damage brought about by the strong winds, rain, and also hailstorm. Now, besides that, pests, okay, such as insect, can also be controlled easily by using biological control methods in greenhouse than in open field. So you can see here, greenhouse is very, very effective for certain countries to carry out, crop production effectively. Okay, the rate of photosynthesis in plants is different throughout the day. Other than the light intensity factor, the rate of photosynthesis is also affected by the color of light. Yeah, okay. Now, light spectrum, okay, it consists of 7 colors, all right. In a certain sequence, okay, we have like the violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and also red. So each color has a different wavelength. Okay, so now the rate of photosynthesis is the highest in red and blue light. Okay, so you can see figure 2.26 there. Okay, the highest is the blue and the red. So now this is because all the red light is absorbed by the chlorophyll and the blue light is absorbed by the carotenoid pigments before being transferred to chlorophyll. Carotenoids are the orange pigments, okay, that are found in carrots, okay, all the orange fruits. Now, these two lights have enough amount of energy to excite the electrons in the light-dependent reaction. So, green plants actually, they don't like green color. they like blue and also red. So that's where they absorb this light, and that is when maximum photosynthesis takes place. Okay. Okay, now so this one you can go through it. Bioexploration from your textbook. Okay, we are done. So as usual, do formative practice 2.4. Answers will be included in the description box below. So do it and check whether you understand the concept of photosynthesis through this lesson. If you have anything to say, any comments, do tell me in the comment box below. Thank you. All right. So here we are, finally. So please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and like this video if it helps. Thank you. Okay, bye bye.